The 25-26 EFL season is here. Friday, 8 p.m, Wimbledon at Luton in Sky Bet League One. The start of the EFL season and the start of the fantasy EFL season. On this show, we're here to tell you who to pick, but also give you some info, tips and tricks to make sure you're at the top of your mini leagues this season. Sign up now as you listen or watch this. Create your team. Take advantage of the opening weekend fixtures. Don't start slow. There are 72 season tickets available to win this season. One for each of the 72 club mini leagues in the game. When you sign up, select the team that you support. You'll be entered automatically into that mini league. But also, the NTT20 Mini League is the real quiz. Link in the description takes you straight there, or just search for NTT20 on the league's part of the game. George, hit me with the key features of this wonderful fantasy game.
Well, you said we're going to help them get to the top of the mini league, but hopefully not our mini league, because we're going to be top of our mini league. So look, it's really, really simple. It's a great twist on fantasy football. You pick 7 players and 2 clubs per game week. There's something in it for everybody. You can choose which leagues you know best. So this weekend, for the opening weekend, League 1 and League 2. Championship starts the week after that as well. And there's no budget because the players don't have value. So you can basically choose whichever players you want, so long as they fit into the formation.
Yeah, I think team picks is a really great addition to fantasy sport, and you don't get that in other fantasy games. You do get it in fantasy EFL. You can show your sort of predictive knowledge across different spheres, if you like, and there's no hard deadline for picks either. So even if there's a Friday night game, as there is this Friday, no drama if you don't have your whole team locked in by 5 o'clock on a Friday. You can still make picks all the way up to 3 o'clock on a Saturday as well. So who are our club picks across Leagues 1 and 2 for opening weekend? Well, clubs get 5 points for a win, 3 points for a draw, 2 extra points for an away win. So there is extra value if you can pick an away win. Difficult as that is, they also get +2 for a clean sheet, 2 points for 2 goals scored, and 2 extra points if they hit 4 goals. So lots to think about when you're picking your teams. Who do you think is going to start well?
Yeah, so the way I've looked to do this, more so than the players, is choosing teams that aren't oversubscribed, that aren't overpicked. The first of which I've gone for is Notts County, who are away at Newport County. Now, they are the 3rd most selected team in League 2, but at 6.2, I still think they are maybe underpicked, because there's some doubts about Notts County coming to the season. They have got a new manager, Martin Patterson. David McGoldrick has left. There was kind of, when Stuart Maynard left at the back end of last season, it didn't all look too rosy. I think people want to see how they get on before committing to them being potential promotion candidates again. With Newport County, they're favourites for relegation, and they've also got a new manager in David Hughes that we don't know a great deal about, a pretty big churn of players. I think Newport are going to struggle, and I think that if this game is in a couple of weeks' time, when people see that Newport might be the poorest team in this league, then Notts County will be way more selected than 6.2%. The other one I'm going for, one who I think are a bit missed here, is Salford, who are 0.7% selected, who are at home to Crewe, who are 0.5% selected. I don't really understand that at all. I think Salford are comfortably favourites to win this game. I think they are the better team going into the campaign. I think they were kind of in the ascendancy at the back end of last season, whereas Crewe were really struggling. They both have the same manager in Carl Robinson and Lee Bell, similar squads, albeit have made some additions. But Salford are the one to me where they're a home team who look to me like they're likely to win the game, and yet are still sub 1% selected. So they're the two that I've gone for.
Yeah, so for my team picks, I've gone for the whale, the big one. Luton Town, the most picked team for opening weekend. You just want to top the league on Friday night. I'd love to top the league on Friday night. 52.9% selected. Over half of the managers in fantasy EFL at this point have gone for Luton. And you can see why. They're at home to Wimbledon. Luton have come down from the Championship and finished the season under Matt Bloomfield as an excellent Championship team. And Wimbledon have come up through the playoffs in League 2, finished 5th in League 2, and were kind of a very 1-0 type team at that level. And while you respect the defensive solidity, which, I don't see dropping off massively, there are big question marks about how much damage they'll be able to do going forward, I think, jumping up a level. So a bit of a mismatch, if you like. Now, Luton do have quite a lot of injuries here, but also Wimbledon's squad is not complete yet. There's a big hole at right wing back, for example, and the fact that they made the playoff final means that their season ended much later. So I do think that can cause problems, and they just feel a bit behind. I think Luton will absolutely squeeze them here. Wimbledon will find it difficult to score goals, and so I think the win I would expect, but I think clean sheets in play here. I think +2 goals scored is in play. I'm looking for a 9-pointer really, for a big pick like that. And then for my sort of niche differential pick, a bit like your Salford one, in League One, Lincoln City, they're at home to Reading, 0.5% selected as we record. So that means of the 48 teams playing this weekend, 36 have been picked by a higher proportion of managers than Lincoln. That's where I want to be mostly. They're at home to Reading, and I think Lincoln are going to start the season quicker than Reading. They've lost some key defenders as well as Ethan Arajon in midfield. But I'm not that worried about Lincoln's defensive departures. Like, for me, defensive performance on a team level is generally down to the team structure, defensive structure, style of play, coaching ability, and how well those players blend as a unit. I'm less worried about individuals leaving at that end of the pitch compared to going forward. So I'm not that worried about Lincoln, and they are a sturdy defensive team. Reading, look, it's been an interesting summer for them. They probably haven't strengthened as much as their fans would have liked. The starting 11 probably looks pretty good and similar to last season, but very little depth at all right now. Lost 4-0 in a friendly to Portsmouth last Saturday, which had fans' alarm bells ringing. So a Lincoln home win when only 0.5% of people have selected them really appeals here. George, before we get into our player picks, and I cannot wait to hear some of your niche selections for the first weekend, what is your fantasy manager persona? Because, you know, fantasy sports is so popular. Fantasy EFL is now into its second season. So anyone that's played last season will have, you know, got into their final form already in terms of the things that they look to do as a manager, how they carry themselves. And I think it's really interesting because you get the sort of the spreadsheet guys that are all about the stats and data. You get the vibes guys that are all about the eye test, the big names, that sort of thing, and everyone in between as well.
I think I fit into a category we're seeing more and more in the EFL, which is the manager who starts off, you know, wide-eyed, bushy-tailed, has these amazing ideas of ideology and the way to play football, and plays expansive, attacking football. And then, you know, for me, that was, you know, making sure that I had as many strikers selected as formations would allow me to, ignoring defenders. Let's focus on goals and assists.
Yeah.
And then you slowly realise that actually, as Nathan Jones has realised, as Scott Parker has realised, that actually what you want to do here is you want to keep clean sheets.
Yeah.
And you want to pick defenders. And you want to, the ideology goes out the window, and it's now, let's just not concede any goals. Let's head it and lump it. And also, you know, I think I'd bring a different thing stylistically to the touchline. I'd like to, we've seen, there used to be touchline or suit managers. I think, you know, we've now seen people like Scott Parker look as if they're going on a date when they get in the dugout. Yeah. I think I'd like to carry what I wear generally, which is just a t-shirt and a pair of shorts.
Yeah, the seaside manager.
Seaside, like just heading to the shops for a pint of milk, like that kind of attire.
Wow.
Would be my stance.
Thirsty.
Thank you.
Yeah, for me, I'm thinking kind of Marcelo Bielsa meets Moneyball. The Bielsa aspect is that I'm happy to play whatever formation is necessary, but the players will play with intensity.
Do formations even exist?
Exactly. Not how I see the game, personally.
But they do. But they do on Fantasy EFL.
You do need to select a structure to hang your players on, but I don't necessarily see it like that. I see things in players that other people don't see, if that makes sense. You know, he turned Stuart Dallas into a superstar championship player. He saw Patrick Bamford and went, Bamford, you're the one for me. Got him an England cap, that sort of thing. Calvin Phillips, another good example there. So, like, I want to choose players that are maybe lesser known and perhaps even a little underrated, and shine a light on them and get the reward in the form of sweet points. And when it comes to Moneyball, well, that's obvious. I want as low ownership as possible for my players. I want to know when my midfielder scores that only 0.1% of other managers in Fantasy EFL are benefiting from that sweet +6 that you get from a midfielder scoring a goal. So we've got our teams for week 1 locked in. Let's go through the picks. Yeah, for goalkeepers, look, you want clean sheets, 5 points for a clean sheet. As long as you've played 60 minutes minimum, you get -1 goal for every 2 goals conceded. You get +2 for every 3 saves. So if you can find the balance between a keeper that's kind of busy but also keeping clean sheets, you're really laughing, but that's a difficult balance to find. +5 for a penalty saved, and tantalisingly, George, +10 for a goal scored.
That's how I'm looking at it. Just find that goal scorer.
Now, how windy will it be in Colchester on Saturday? Because Matt Macy, could he be testing the opposite goal with any goal kicks? Probably not, but he was the second top scoring goalkeeper in League 2 on Fantasy EFL last season with 225 points. He was the second best goalkeeper in League 2 last season behind Owen Goodman, and he plays for a Colchester team who, under the Cowleys, I think are going to protect him this season as well as they did last season. at home to Tranmere, who I think are likely to improve, but just not expecting goals to flow for Tranmere. They haven't added much attacking firepower, and away from home last season, just 21 goals in 23 away games. So looking to start strong with a clean sheet for Matt Macy in goal for me.
Timothy Lotatala is my selection. Doncaster keeper, a bit of a heroic return, having had a really good loan there back in 23-24. He's someone who I think is probably missed because he didn't really play last season. He had one game on loan as an emergency loan keeper at Crawley, and he kept a clean sheet in that game. Doncaster host Exeter, a team that I think are likely to struggle this season. But I think he fits into that whole busy but likely to keep a clean sheet, because even though Doncaster are favourites for this game, they're also a newly promoted side. I think the chances are that they're probably going to be kept quite busy by Exeter. My only concern is that he absolutely loves a card. He got 4 yellows and 1 red in his 20 games on loan at Doncaster a couple of seasons ago. He got a yellow card in that 1-0 win over Bristol Rovers last season for Crawley Town. Bit of a worry, but as I say, I think he's someone who is 0.7% selected. The reason for that being that he doesn't show up when you look at last season's numbers. And if you ask most Donny fans, where does Lotatala sit in like the best keepers in League One, they'll tell you very, very high. And I'm not sure that's perception of the wider game-playing public.
And very much sort of buying the dip as well after his comedy own goal in pre-season, which went rather viral last weekend. When it comes to defenders, there's a phrase that we're going to use, and you're going to hear it plenty. It is big, meaty centre-backs. They are all the rage on Fantasy EFL, will be among the top scorers on the whole game, and absolutely what we're looking for our centre-backs, and what you should be looking for as well if you want to maximise points. That's because, yes, +5 for a clean sheet is important, and you don't want them to be conceding goals. Obviously, -1 for every 2 goals conceded, but for every 4 clearances, 1 point. For every 2 blocks, 1 point. For every 2 tackles, 1 point as well, which benefits tough tackling fullbacks, and +7 for goals scored as well. So if you can get your 6'5", grizzled veteran centre-back making clearances, making blocks, and challenging the opposition goal from set pieces at the other end, you can score massive. George, who are your BMCBs?
Yeah, I've gone for 3-2-1 because defenders are incredibly important here, and that is what's unique about the game compared to other fantasy footballs, is that defenders are really important where normally there's a focus on attacking players, and I love that. My first selection is Sonny Bradley, who is now at Lincoln City. He'll be making his debut against Reading on Saturday. The reason I've done this is because Paudie O'Connor was the 7th highest scoring defender in last year's game. Sonny Bradley is a direct replacement for Paudie O'Connor. The way that Skabala likes his defenders to defend, the way that Sonny Bradley likes his defenders likes to defend himself, is to head it, lump it, launch it. I'm hoping that he will do that. I think managers are really important in the way they like to play for looking at defenders, and I've got Michael Morrison as my second selection. Cambridge hosting Cheltenham. Cheltenham, again, a team that we expect to struggle in League 2, but Neil Harris. I think Neil Harris is like the perfect manager profile for a centre-back here, where Michael Morrison's someone who made 253 clearances last season. He will be charged with doing that yet again. It's a point for every 4 clearances. I also think he's due to score some goals this season, because last season he scored just 1 goal from 1.76 XG, had 19 shots. So dropping down a division, it wouldn't surprise me at all if he was able to notch a few, and hopefully starting on opening day. And then finally, Jason Carr of Wigan, who I think last season ranked as...
he was the 7th highest scorer of defenders in League One.
Yes, there you go. Thank you.
Paudie was the 7th highest in the whole game.
Thank you. Yes.
Carr, another big scorer in League One, 285 points.
Correct. And they host Northampton. Again, a home game against a team that we expect to struggle. Carr, proven quality, I guess, or a proven point scorer at the level. Although he's one of those that is maybe more selected than I would probably like. But given the knowledge that he's going to start, and he seems like a really, really solid case to me. So yeah, Sonny Bradley, Michael Morrison, Jason Carr. You're not going to out-beef me there, are you?
I mean, yes. Oh. I think possibly.
Okay.
Niche beef for me.
Niche beef.
Wagyu. Rare and delicious. Because Jack Sanders is 0.1% owned.
Okay.
Farron Rawson, 0.1% owned. Nathan Smith, 0.2% owned here. Big differentials heading into opening weekend. Sanders is really interesting for me because he plays for MK Dons. They are favourites for the League 2 title. They're up against an Oldham team that play with a proper target man up top in Mike Fondop. So I expect there to be a lot of balls into the MK box when Oldham attack, and therefore a lot of opportunities for Sanders to be clearing things. He is very tall, and last season, having joined in January, he averaged 6.8 points a game, which is right up there, really, and exactly what I'd love him to do to kick off the campaign. Farron Rawson of Aki, they're at home to Gills. There's an opponent style aspect to this pick as well. Gillingham will play with one or two of Sam Vokes, Joseph Bode, Seb Palmer-Holden, Elliot Nevitt up front. They will play direct under Gareth Ainsworth. Lots of balls into the box for Faz Rawson to head away. 334 clearances in 38 appearances last season is 8.8 per game. So he was getting 2 points a game minimum from clearances alone last season. And Nathan Smith, 0.2% owned, 6.0 average points last season, but that was playing for Port Vale where he dropped out of the team. That was quite a dominant Port Vale side. And actually the BMCBs, if you look at who did well last season, they rarely play for the league favourites. They rarely play for the top teams in the league. As you say, you almost want them to be soaking up a bit of pressure. And away at Colchester with their fairly direct style of play as well, I think Nathan Smith now of Tranmere, he is absolutely meat and potatoes at the back and will be making plenty of blocks and clearances, I hope. Onto midfielders, and the midfield arena is very interesting in fantasy EFL because so many different types of players can be sort of top scorers or challenge for that title. You've got your goal scorers, your assisters, your goal contribution merchants, like a Luke Molyneux, like a Josh Brownhill, guys like that. But then also because you get points for key passes, 1 point for every 2 key passes, because you get points for shots on target, and crucially, because you get points for every interception is plus 2 points, you get a new batch of midfielders like a Casper Denore in the Championship or an Osama Ashley in League 2 who top the interceptions charts and because of that can be top scorers on Fantasy EFL as well. So George, Osama Ashley, the interception legend of League 2 last season, 71 in total, which means he got 142 points across the season from intercepting alone, and you're not overthinking this. Straight into your team.
Yeah, straight in, because he actually didn't play that many minutes compared to most, and I think it was 6.6 per 90 average, which is right up there with the top in midfielders. And the thing about him is, I think we know now, he won Player of the Season last season at Salford. We know that when he's fit, he will play for Carl Robinson's side, and we know that he's going to do that all-action midfield role, which gets points. But I think we're going to see a spike in goal involvements this season from Osama Ashley. He got 5 assists last season and 1 goal scored. It seems like in pre-season he's playing a little bit more advanced. And if he is able to add that to his game, like you look at someone, when you look through the top scorers, like Lewis Wing's an example of someone who scored a lot of goals last season, but also he got points for the off-the-ball stuff. And I think Ashley, he may not hit the kind of numbers of Wing, but if he continues with those interception rates and everything else, and he can score 4, 5, 6 goals this season, then he will be one of the top scoring midfielders and just 1.3% selected.
Lovely.
And then the same with Lototala, where I've gone for a player that doesn't show up when you look at last season's points, because he was playing in the National League, and that is Ryan Glover, who plays for Barnet. He was Barnet's Player of the Season last season when they were promoted out of the National League. He's someone that can either play as a 10 or a wing back, but either way, just a big goal involvement guy. And remember, you get 3 points for an assist. You get 1 point for every key pass, 1 point for every shot on target, and then the goals that come too. Last season, he got 10 assists and 7 goals. He's a really creative player. I think he's going to be a key player and will start and play minutes for them consistently. And if he's as good as I think he is, and if Barnet are as good as we think they might be, that 0.3% selected is going to change radically between now. I mean, it might even change before the weekend, given we're doing this show.
Yeah, he'll fit straight into your team like a
glove.
The Gloveman, Ryan Glover. For my midfielders, Ruben Colwill of Cardiff City. If he stays at Cardiff and if Brian Barry Murphy gets as much out of him as I expect him to, he's going to be a standout player in League One. Watching clips from Cardiff's pre-season friendlies, like you are just reminded of how much of a unicorn Colwill is. He's like 6'4", 6'5", playing in an attacking midfield role. Looks after the ball so well. His close control is brilliant. You basically can't get it off him. He's not that dynamic, is he? Or at least he hasn't been over the last few years. That's what people want to see more of from him and potentially playing at a level that should be beneath him realistically, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Colwill take a massive jump up in terms of goals and therefore shots on target. And also, he is a creative player too, so key passes. I see loads of ways that Colwill will get fantasy points this season. 2.1% owned. That might be the lowest ownership percentage that he has all season, because I think at home to Posh on Saturday, he's going to start live on Sky, and I would imagine that the secret will be out. And one that might stay a little longer, I think, is Jay's Cabia. This is Grimsby's new number 9. He's new to the EFL, and he's a midfielder on Fantasy EFL, but I think he might play up front on Saturday for Grimsby. That's because Danny Rose, their talismanic striker, missed the final friendly. Cabia started and scored, and by all accounts looked very, very sharp. Now, he was part of a Truro City side that shocked everyone by winning the National League South title last season. And depending on what source you look at for stats for the National League South, picked up between 24 and 28 goals and assists in about 33 90s worth of football. So I'm looking at a guy who, albeit, a couple of levels below, showed himself to be able to score and create. And when you're getting +6 for a goal as a midfielder compared to +5 as an attacker, of course you want to be looking for guys like Cabia or maybe Tyler Walton of Accrington, I notice as well, is down as a midfielder, who are down as midfielders because they can play wide and they will play wide, but if you know they're going to be playing up front, you can be getting some serious value there. And when it comes to forwards, +5 for a goal scored, +1 for every 2 key passes, and for shots on target as well. You're looking for goals, no need to overthink it. That's why I've got Nicky Wells, Luton's new striker, dropping down from the Championship where he's been operating for so many years. He's so savvy. He is a goal scorer, even if his goals output of 10 last season for Bristol City maybe didn't leap off the page in 41 appearances. He should be so comfortable at this level inside the box, finding space and finishing with both feet, and I think playing for a Luton side that should dominate their game on Friday night. So hoping to get off to a really good start with Nicky Wells and Luton as one of my club picks as well. George, who's up top for you?
Youssef Salek. What is he doing playing in League One? Just an absolute joke. Came in at Cardiff in January, signed up, I think, 4.5-year deal. They obviously get relegated down to League One, but he was playing in a really poor side then. Still scored 8 goals in 20 games. There's obviously talk that he might move on before the end of the window. We often see teams who get relegated, their sides look very, very different at the beginning of August to the end of August. And there's a chance, I guess, Salek might be that. But I assume, given that Cardiff haven't brought anyone in yet, that he'll start up front against Posh in the early kickoff on Saturday. And even if Cardiff aren't great, in my mind, that'll be because the defensive issues. We know that Brian Barry-Murphy, the way he likes to play, and you mentioned with Colwill, I think they'll create loads of chances. Peterborough's defence, not the best anyway. I'm worried about them coming into the season. And for that reason, I've also made Youssef Salek my captain.
Oh, nice.
Double points. Mm-hmm. So you get to select one captain per week. You have a vice captain as well in case they don't come on. Mine's Jason Carr. But Youssef Salek, I think there's a chance that he could, if Cardiff do run riot in that game, I think he'll be at the forefront of it and could get 2 or 3 goals, or at least a few goal involvements. So I'm excited for Youssef.
Yeah, nice. I'm going for a BMCB as my skipper, Faz Rawson of Akia, at home to Gills on opening day. My vice is Nathan Smith. There are 2 boosters that you can use. One of them is Max Captain. Now that means that whatever player in your team ends up with the most points at the end of the game week will automatically become your captain and therefore get the double points, even if you didn't pick the right one initially, which is a bit of fun. Probably best used in a double game week, maybe even a triple, which we had at one point last season.
Oh, and Youssef Salek is playing against Peterborough.
And then a 1 club booster as well, which means that for 1 week only, you can pick up to 7 players from 1 club. Like, imagine the bullishness
triple game week
that you'd have for like a 7-0 win to pick all 7 players from 1 club. Here's my fantasy team for opening weekend of the EFL season. In goal, Matt Macey of Colchester United. My big, meaty centre-backs, there's 3 of them. Farrand Rawson, my captain of Accrington at home to Gills. Jack Sanders of MK Dons at home to Oldham. And Nathan Smith, newly of Tranmere Rovers, away at Colchester United. I'm going for goal contributions from my midfielders. One is Ruben Colwill of Cardiff City. And one is Jay's Cabia, who barely anyone else in the game owns and could be a big differential for me. Up top, No overthinking. Nikki Wells of Luton Town at home to Wimbledon on Friday night. My club picks are Luton at home to Wimbledon, and on Saturday, Lincoln at home to Reading, just 0.5% owned.
Opening weekend nearly here. I cannot wait. My team for Fantasy EFL. Timothy Lowe Tatala is my goalkeeper on loan at Doncaster again. They're at home to Exeter. I think he might keep a clean sheet and make some big saves. Yeah, big meaty centre-backs for me as well. They're the ones who get you points. Sonny Bradley making his debut for Lincoln at home to Reading. Michael Morrison, captain of Cambridge, I think 40 years young, hosting Cheltenham Town. Jason Carr of Wigan, one of the top scorers in the league last season, hosting Northampton. Osama Ashley, interception man, Salford, they're hosting Crewe. Ryan Glover making his EFL debut for Barnet at home to Fleetwood, a guy who got loads of goals and assists last season in the National League. And surely the best striker in League One and League Two, Youssef Salek up front, hopefully for Cardiff City, at home to Peterborough. And he is my captain, going for double points. My two team selections, Salford City at home to Crewe and Notts County away at Newport County. Bring it on.
We want to hear about your team, so let us know in the comments on YouTube or on Spotify, or tweet us a screenshot on social media, and make sure you join the NTT20 Mini League. The link in the description of the podcast will take you straight there. Just search for NTT20 as well. Make sure you download the Fantasy EFL app and take us on. I think winning the NTT20 Mini League would be akin to like winning the chase in terms of being able to crow about something for the rest of time.
Are we the chasers?
We're the chasers. Ooh. We are the big, knowledgeable chasers. And it's been great fun to talk you through our teams for opening weekend of Fantasy EFL. See you in the Mini League. Cheers and go well.